All right, Eileen, how are you?
Hi, how are you
Man,
doing?
I am so well. I'm so well. How are you? Thank you very much for coming on today.
Very well. It's Sunday. Nothing is bad on a Sunday, right?
Yeah. Hopefully nice weather over there. That's treating you well.
German summer is kind of disappointing this year, like a lot of rain.
Oh
But
no. Okay.
climate change isn't real and everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me say, like I say, first off, thank you very much for taking the time today. I'm really excited to dig into some of the things that we're going to, and just seeing a lot of the work that you've been putting out, and it's always cool seeing an artist's individual eye toward things and seeing what they might see through their eyes, and kind of portraying out. So it'll be very cool to kind of dig into some of these things and some of the backstories on a couple of pieces here. But to start out, so I will have here on Grown on You Live one initial introduction question. Then the remainder of the interview is about you and your craft, your career in art. And then I have one finale that I've written just for this episode. So if you're ready and comfy, then we'll get this bad boy started.
Comfy, water, everything's good. Let's go.
Perfect. All right, let me ask you, as far as if my wife and I were coming through Germany, we're coming through somewhere local to you, what would be a local restaurant or a local eatery that is a must stop before we came home? And what would we have to try?
Germany or Europe in general, I feel like is not as huge on franchise stuff as the States are. So it's
Love that.
more about the mom and pop shops, about the private, well not private, but you know what I mean, like not franchise stuff. I mean the typical stuff that pretty much every person has to try obviously is schnitzel, which is, I know you guys know it, but obviously it's a little
A little
different than
different.
what we do here. Although I have to admit that's more a like Austria thing, but it kind of came up here. Well, bratwurst is always a good one. So every kind of sausage you can think of,
Okay.
basically meat. If you're a meat eater, Germany is gonna make you very happy.
Okay.
And potatoes. Every kind of potato you can think of. You basically can't go wrong anywhere there.
Yeah. Okay.
German just has a very, very good kitchen. Like all the food is pretty good. So you can't go wrong. Just don't go to McDonald's, that kind of stuff. But oh,
Right.
by the way, like that is the only, I can't stop my cat from making noise. So if that's happening, I'm very sorry.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
she's very talkative.
Yeah. Not a problem.
But
You
yeah.
might at some point there might be a tail that poofs up. I've had a lot of my interviews interrupted from mine as well, and it's funny. She's not affectionate until I'm doing something else or not paying attention, and then
Exactly.
all of a sudden it's like, "Hey, asshole, I'm here too."
Yeah.
Like,
Same
okay,
here. Whenever I sit down for work, it's like, ooh, it's my no, I'm
right.
working, my dear.
All right. So as far as digging into your art, I just wanted to, bring it all the way back as far as earlier memories from, at what point can you remember your interest in art starting in, and what were early maybe drawing subjects or things that you liked to portray on page early on?
Well, I mean, I was a pretty one of those annoying kids that forced their parents to put all the art on the fridge. So I was pretty early on, like maybe 5 or 6. Uh, all the drawings, all the animals, plants, everything. Like I tried all the, when you put a plant and then scribble over it with a sharp or with a pencil,
Yeah.
and trace it and stuff like that. Just all the things, and that pretty much went on. Like I don't think it ever left. Of course, there's when you're a teenager, there's different things you're interested in, but art kind of always stayed there.
Okay.
As for career, I never, because obviously it's always that, oh, art is not a career, like you can't make money with that, like unless you're really good, like just don't do it because it's not worth it. But it was always like in the back of my head, like that's what I love, that's what I have fun with. Initially, I wanted to become a lawyer. Like that was
Oh,
the other
Lord.
way that was I thought about. But pretty quickly after graduating, I was like, yeah, no, that's way too much time, way too much money, way too much everything. Let's just try the art thing. And I did try the art thing, and yeah, that was good. That was good.
Now, did that go through from early on to like middle school to high school, where you were keeping pretty consistent as far as like classes and even things outside of that? You know, where you were throughout, like even graduating in art classes then?
Yeah, we don't have that kind of system over here. Like it's very
Okay.
general. Like you can't really focus on art or whatever until you're graduated because it's like they want to give you as much knowledge as possible, like all the play and fun stuff you do after school. And I did that. Like I did a lot of oil painting, a lot of acrylics, like tried pretty much all the techniques to find something that stuck with me. And I think oil for a long time, oil was the thing to, which is weird when you look at my work now, like it's nothing that has to do with like patience and sitting down and very, because I'm very minimalistic these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was back in the day. I remember trying all the very detailed stuff, and I enjoyed that. But maybe that got lost somewhere that I can't focus as much anymore. I don't know. It just doesn't bring me as much joy anymore. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was pretty much throughout the years. It was all the experimenting, trying out, and then computers came into the game, and working my way into that. So yeah, it was just a lot of experimenting with different things. But never, like I can't imagine or I can't remember a time where I never did anything creative. No.
Okay. All right. Now, mentioning technology as well, as far as like computers and tablets and things like that, when did that get introduced to you? Just as far as, early on, was that through school then?
Yeah, I mean, not the art part. Obviously, computers. I'm in my 30s now, so it was just introduced when I was in school to
Okay.
work with computers, all that stuff. So it wasn't until I graduated that I actually worked with like software that was meant for creating. Of course, I did paint and all that. These goofy face studios you had back in the day. But
Hmm.
that was nothing like I really was into. It was more like after school when it was about actual graphic design work. So all the layout stuff and that I got into real big after that. But yeah, no, it's pretty much in school, but not the design side of things, more the technical side of things and how to use computers, how to, it's weird for younger people because obviously they grow up with this right now, but we had to get
Right.
used to that, because
Right.
it wasn't there from the beginning. So yeah, yeah, pretty much like, I would say like actually started working with it on a creative level, probably like 17, 18.
Okay. All right. With like things like paint and earlier illustrators, I guess, like kind of like that. Were there earlier times where someone had approached you as far as maybe a project or doing something, and they're like, here, we need to do this on the computer, we need to design it here, and that was kind of like an introductory to like a newer program where you're like, oh, this is actually a good tool to use, as opposed to something like paint where it was like, this is a pain in the ass.
Oh, well, it was for sure. No, I don't think so because I think the time actually when people started approaching me was already the time I did the apprenticeship, which over here in Germany, it's basically when you graduate, you can either go the university route, pretty normal, but you can also do an apprenticeship, which is basically 3 years of going to school and working in the job. And afterwards, you get like a certificate and you can work in that job. And that goes for pretty much everything from like building to baking to whatever. And
Oh,
that's your
wow.
actual job now. It's just you don't need a higher education to do that. And my thinking was, okay, I'm going to try this out. If it doesn't work out, I still have something, but it doesn't matter. Like if I want to go into a different direction, doesn't matter. I can still, fall back on this or whatever. So yeah, I tried that and felt that, okay, this is the stuff I want to do. And then yeah, well, decided to do university as well because why not?
Yeah, right, right. With your approach as far as minimalism, and talking about earlier on painting and doing different things with watercolor and oil paints, where did the minimalism approach come from? As far as, did it turn out something that at first became, was kind of came off almost necessity, and then turned into like, oh, this is like a style, and I can really run with this and it resonates.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're starting to become your own person as a designer, when you kind of, grow into your style, you find things that you enjoy looking at and you enjoy watching doing, because there's a big difference. Like, I enjoy all the, poster art that is super detailed, super amazing. I just don't enjoy doing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's just a
Right.
difference between the two. I love watching and looking at it. I just don't want to do it. And that's pretty much what happened in my career as well. Like, I really enjoyed the very sleek graphic designy part, like doing brochures and like very nice websites and stuff like that. Super amazing. I didn't enjoy everything else. Like, whenever it came to like a lot of images has to go into the brochures or the whatever, the logo has to be very busy. I always did the, yep, I'm out. Things like go to someone else. It's just
Okay.
you get a feeling, like you get an inkling. Okay,
Sure.
this is what I want to do. This is what I just don't enjoy, so I'm not doing it. And you push and push, and I just pushed the minimalism further until the posters arrived.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and that's something too where, even looking at it initially, it might seem like it's something simple, and you're saying, kind of like stripped down and, and minimalist, I guess, where the term comes from. But then, if you go in and you try to do something like that, or you try to make something where it's like you're trying to portray, what's supposed to be seen from the movie or like from the story given, it's like that shit's hard. I mean, it's a lot more difficult than what so
Yeah.
that's why I mean it's a cool style and even better when it's well done for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the magic to me about minimalism, is because people are always like, yeah, but there's not much. And I'm like, yeah, how do you have any idea how hard it is to get an idea across with so little? Like, that is
Yeah.
what I enjoy. I enjoy, finding that one iconic imagery that represents a movie for me or whatever. Like, it can be anything, a book, whatever. Like, it's way, to me at least, it's way more exciting to kind of, work down a whole piece of art into one image. And that's
Mhm.
what I love about my job, and that's what I enjoy. And that's hard. That's really hard sometimes, because it's, you have no idea how many people these days come to me and say, oh, we want it in your style, like the SG posters. And I'm like, I get that, but also that stuff comes from no direction. So if you trust me and don't want to give me any directions, you're going to
Right.
get that. As soon as you start intervening, it's going to get harder,
Yeah.
just
Right.
because a lot of that just comes from, doing your thing.
Hmm.
And fortunately, I have a whole lot of clients who by now very much trust me with these things and just, let me go crazy and, oh yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, it's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes.
Sure. Sure. I know I was watching one of your interviews or maybe even reading something. No, I was watching one and you were mentioning kind of keeping your workstation clean and tidy and kind of real minimalistic in a sense with that too. And I was like, well, maybe it's kind of something as far as everyday life kind of spilling into like, hey, I this absolutely
Absolutely.
works.
Absolutely. Like, my whole apartment, if you could see, like, it's everything looks like that. It's not like, it's very
Okay.
homey, but it's always very clean, very organized, just because it makes my heart happy. It makes my brain happy. And that's how I just like it.
Right.
And I feel like there's just different kinds of people. Some need chaos to function, and some just need, a clean workspace, a clean canvas to start. And, that's how it is.
I love that. I love that. With your interest in art, I wanted to dig into early movie posters or different things as far as maybe you saw in the theaters or things that you saw at a video shop, and movie posters that caught your eye, possibly even drawing you into something you weren't familiar with. What comes to mind in something like that?
For early on, of course, stuff like, I don't even know if Americans are for, oh, I think I saw that on Twitter. Land Before Time. Do you remember that
Oh
film?
yeah, yeah, of
So
course.
sad. Love that poster. Back in the day, I remember that because it was one of the first films I actually remember. And then there's a whole big gap. I don't know why. And then for some reason, because I was a teenager in the teenage horror time, so from I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, like that whole era. So I remember I could describe every single poster from that era to you, because it's like that was everywhere, like in magazines, and you back in the day, that kind of stuff, like marketing as a teenager was like, ooh, you know, everywhere. So yeah, I remember a whole lot of these slasher horror. I wouldn't call it horror, but you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. I wasn't a big, I mean, obviously when you grow up, you're always influenced by the people around you, being your parents, family, whatever. And I wasn't, like, my parents weren't big movie buffs. Like, they never watched a whole lot of movies or stuff like that. So I'm not very much influenced by that. I never saw Indiana Jones, and I know that's a big one, but you know, if you just never, you know, if you're never introduced to it, and by the time, you know, I just wasn't interested anymore.
Sure.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like the poster era 2000s is like my realm where I grew up with and got in touch with the whole medium for sure. Which doesn't mean I don't enjoy, you know, the classics, E.T. posters, like all the brilliant art by Drew Struzan and the like. But it's just not the era I grew up in, so it's not as, didn't have as much of an impact on me.
Yeah, totally. With you doing, you know, different like tribute pieces or different, you know, pieces just kind of on your own out of the love of things, and with that era being, you know, kind of like the Dimension films and the floating heads, were there ever times that you made like your own posters, like, oh, I love Scream so much, this is what the poster would be like if I could have made a poster for it? Did you ever do anything with any of those movies at that time?
No, not at
Okay.
the time, because I was too young.
Uh-huh.
But I recently, because I think every designer has like rails they're not touching yet because they don't feel ready, or maybe they didn't have the right concept for it, or whatever. And I feel like that whole era, like I did here and there, I did a little bit, but I kind of stayed away from it until now. Maybe it's time to do that. Like there are so many good Scream posters out there, like, oof, it's hard to top those. So many good minimal ideas as well, so it would be harder. But I don't see that much love, for example, for the fantastic I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, where is the love for that? So maybe I could tackle that. I do an annual Halloween poster series. Maybe that would be a good thing to do, like a series for the teenage horror flicks. Maybe that would be good.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and that's like my go-to for my wife too. So like the urban legend and the I Know What You Did Last Summer, and you know, that was very much like when we get into October, one of those movies has to be going
Yes.
at some point. Valentine, I don't know if you remember that one or not. So good, yeah. Absolutely ridiculous at points, but that's what's so fun too. So
I think they all, yeah, I think they all are. I mean, it's the cute horror, you know, like you can't, I'm a very big horror movie fan, so it's like whenever I watch these films, it's like, oh, that's cute, you know, like it's like, because I'm used to so much like more gruesome stuff and more, you know, intelligent stuff by now, and it's like, you know, the scripts were like for teenagers. It's not like they, you know, they didn't want to be the next Spielberg or whatever. They just did what they did. They, you know, they were fun, kind of. So I don't know. I still really enjoy them. Same here. Every Halloween, it's like I have to put on one of these because it's just pure fun.
Yeah, okay. And one last thing before moving on here, there was a movie I was recently introduced to called Jawbreaker. Have you ever seen that? That was right around the same era, later 90s. It wasn't necessarily a horror movie, but it was about these kids that play a prank on this girl, and they take like a Jawbreaker candy and they lodge it in her mouth and then put tape over her mouth, and then they go and they go to like drop her off somewhere like out in the middle of the woods or something by herself, like to leave her to have to come back, and she dies, and they're trying to like figure out what to do with the body. It's insane though.
That sounds crazy. I need to watch. Oh my
I'm trying to
god.
think of who all was in it too, but like my wife
I
had seen
see
it
the
too, and we're
poster.
talking.
Oh my god. It had Julia Ben. I think she was
Yes, yes, okay, yeah,
in Buffy, Angel, one of those. Rose
okay.
McGowan and
Rose
Rebecca
McGowan.
Gayheart.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't, that's certainly one that kind of touches on that era, like kind of like that bubblegum type era.
Yeah,
Almost
the
it's almost
poster
like a
is
dark
is
comedy.
is quite something. Wow.
All right,
Cool.
so digging back into your art, as far as with your
Yes.
apprenticeship in Germany, tell us about what maybe some things were in going through that where that's the learning process and the learning experience. But what were some things that maybe you already had been doing that while coming into that they're trying to teach you and have you learning and you're like, oh, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve here. I already knew to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, I was like 18, so you think you know everything, but you don't.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
think, oh, I have a cool style, but of course I didn't. It's like I did learn so much doing that apprenticeship. Not just how to handle the software and everything, but just basic graphic design rules like color theory, all that kind of stuff, which is very, very handy. And also layout, composition, all that stuff. Basically, my whole base of graphic design / art came from that because I had, well, the school provided all the technical knowledge, if you will, and my people at work basically told me, this is how you work with clients, this is how you do like communication and everything. So it was just a very good basis for pretty much everything. I know that was a huge advantage when I came into university because you had that kind of knowledge that a whole lot of these people didn't have yet. So that was kind of good, and I was very glad that I did it that way, and not going from school directly to university. Because a whole lot of these people were kind of clueless and didn't know, how to present a project, for example, which as a designer, as an illustrator, as a creative in general, is just very important. You have to be able to, present your work, present yourself as an artist. And that's stuff that I kind of was 2 steps ahead, which was great. And I'm very grateful that I did it that way. My parents kind of forced me to do it.
Okay, nice. With so much of your work and in being a creative, dealing with clients and having different situations, may it be a schedule that's a week out or a year out. Was there anything in your time in university as far as that covered dealing with some of those situations or how to handle clientele, or was that more of like an on-the-job training?
Yeah,
When you got into it. Okay.
sadly, it's one of those things where I still think about a lot is the whole 3 things actually. It's how to deal with clients in general, just how to approach clients, how to talk to them, how to handle things. The second being anything that has to do with prices, billing, how to do your taxes, all that kind of stuff, which is pretty
Oh, right.
important once you're a graphic designer, and especially if you're self-employed. And the third one, all the stuff that is legal. Graphic designers especially work a lot with images, with royalties, all that kind of stuff, and that's just not covered, at least and I know that's different from country to country. At least over here, that wasn't part of it. Was basically just the creative part of things, which I get because they don't have that much time, but I would have appreciated, at least one course where you could do all the, hey, this is how you file taxes. This is what you need to think of. Get a lawyer if this happens or whatever, just a little basic introduction to all the real life things that can happen at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point. But yeah, I mean, these people have to focus on the art side of things, I guess. And it's just a lot of learning and learning by doing and learning on the job for sure. And you grow with it and it's fine. Like it's not bad. And if you're moderately intelligent, it's not too complicated, but still it can be annoying sometimes because
Yeah.
you want to do all the cool art things, but you also have to worry about all the other things on the side. You're your own accountant, or if you don't have an accountant yet, but you're basically everything on your own. And it's kind of, it can be frightening and kind of intimidating at the start, but it's going to get better. It gets better with every year, to be honest.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's something that's even similar over here, just with regular old life. You know, you have high school and, you know, they force you into doing this like quad mathematics, something that like you probably will never see again. You know, it's like, but you have to make sure that you pass this. And it's like, well, I don't know how to pay a damn bill. Like, can you guys teach me this shit?
Exactly. And I mean, stuff like, okay, you know, it's and I know you have like a home ad and stuff like that, but stuff like, how do I do my laundry? Or, you know, I knew people, because I moved out pretty early, but I knew people in their 20s that didn't know how to use dishwasher. And I'm like, I mean, lucky that you didn't have to until this point, but like, you know, like,
right.
How are you surviving? You know, but yeah, my cat just threw something somewhere. Oh well, whatever.
And one last thing, as far as moving on, or before we move on, from your time with studying graphic design at the university, you'd mentioned before, you know, a hands-on and screen printing process throughout this process. You know, is there any of that still gets utilized today, as far as in your art?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not so much focusing at this point, at least, on actual work with galleries and stuff like that, just because I'm way too busy with the other stuff I'm doing. I don't have the hat for that at the moment, and it was never the goal to do that. But yeah, I do know all the separation parts. So whenever there is a screen print coming up, there's no problem for me to do all that work by myself. But yeah, I mean, it's all those nice basic things that you kind of pick up on the way and think about. Gladly, from going back to the apprenticeship, I learned pretty much all the like printing stuff. Like I can prove everything. Like I can, you know, so it's very handy to have the knowledge from A to Z, like not just, you know, a tiny portion of it, but, you know, being able to basically carry one thing from A to Z, and, you know, knowing when to intervene and what to look at and what to prove and whatever, is very handy. And yeah, all the handmade stuff that I did, oh God, all the print techniques that you can think of, basically. That was a lot of fun. If messy, but a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, you kind of, you know, pick and choose different things and styles, and obviously in minimalism, a lot of stuff comes from different, you know, stenciling and all that kind of stuff. There's different influences when it comes to that, and different kinds of thinking. So I guess it's just a big mush of experience that, you know, kind of grew into what I do today.
Sure. I mean, and it gives that well-roundedness, just as far as not necessarily carrying on like an arrogance with things, but, you know, when you've already been down a certain path and you're looking for something to be printed and you get it back and it's like, this is absolutely wrong. Like, this is not acceptable. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's nice to have that confidence in your work, to be able to know that, well, I have done this. I had X amount of time, you know, doing this. And this is not what I'm expecting out of my final product. So
yeah,
please
I mean,
fix that.
exactly. That's the thing. And especially if you're working for someone else, I want the best result for my client as well. Like if I look at something and the color is all wrong, and that happened in the past, I'm like, no, you have to, you know, if it's the clients, especially because I'm working with Splendid Films here in Germany. And they did have some stuff in the past, and I saw stuff and I'm like, well, have you seen this? And they're like, oh, is it wrong? And I'm like, yeah, completely, you know, go back to the printer, like they have to redo that. And they're like, oh my God, because they don't have the experience, you know, and they don't know how it should look. They just see, okay, it's black, but they don't see it's not a deep black, you know, like a vibrant, like really good black. And that's just things that, you know, they learn to appreciate. In the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. You and your, you know, you think too much and blah blah blah. But I'm like, no, it's all about quality, and I know how it should look like, and just trust me that this isn't what you want. And
it's not it. Yeah. Yeah. Trust me, this isn't it. I promise.
yeah, it can be way, way better.
Oh my. All right. With digging into some of your pieces, just as far as like, what would be an example of a piece that no matter your approach, it just was not coming into fruition? And maybe even it might be something that, you don't want to go specifically, but just, something that you were just working on and it just wasn't coming about. And then something else that, a piece came up that it just basically threw itself on the page or on the screen. It took no effort from you to just get it down and done.
I have to be very honest. When it comes to my like all the passion projects I do, so all the stuff I just do for fun, I'm not a patient person. When something doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I move on. It's just because I do these for fun, and when they're not fun and turn into work, I just don't want to do them anymore. What I do usually is I sit down, and when an idea I have doesn't work out within like half an hour, I'm just moving on, because it's like, it's not worth my time. I don't have the patience for that. So did it happen in the past that I just wanted to desperately put down an idea? Yeah, probably a few times. I just don't remember because I move on so quickly.
Okay.
I do know that there were a couple where I was surprised myself that they actually were, in this case, it was client projects where they went with the fastest idea. It was like a 10-minute idea, and it was done in like, the whole thing was done in like 35 minutes. And I can tell you, it's a Disney piece. They just loved it so much. They had no notes whatsoever and did printing. It's the official, what was it, 3D, whatever, IMAX. Wow. I don't even remember. But it was, and it's like, oh, that's so awesome. That's something that came from just very deep inside, just, made it out there, and no notes whatsoever. That was just great. That was amazing. Wow. It's not what happens every day.
Right.
The reality is unfortunately way different. But yeah, I couldn't give you a good example where something really didn't work, because my job is to make it work, so I don't try to think about the times I personally disappointed myself too much, because when you do that, you kind of spiral into, oh, I'm not good at my job, and then then you're not good at your job, because it's like, sure. So I'm trying to focus on the wins and what I learned with every project, and how it made me grow and as an artist, I guess. So yeah, it's more about I focus on the stuff that comes out fast and fun. And funny enough, it's always, whenever I do my passion projects, the stuff that takes 5 minutes always gets like thousands of likes, shares, whatever. When I really sit down with a project with something fun, I'm like, this is gonna blow no one cares. No one cares. And I'm like, so this is my life now. All the 5 minutes ideas, like, that's it now. Okay, cool. I'm good with that.
Oh, but I mean, and I appreciate that answer too. And as far as just that scope of, focusing on positives and not, letting something, like a frustration hold you back. I love that as far as, an approach to, maintaining and just keep on pushing on. But that is funny, just as far as being something where you have 3 ideas and the other 2 you've spent hours on, and then the one that was just kind of a really quick rough draft, here you go, they're like, oh, we're sending this off to the printers, it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
But funny enough, it happens to so many artists. Whenever I talk to people, and they're like, yeah, this 5-minute thing got so much attention, and the one thing I wanted them to pay attention to, no one cared. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of yeah, it is what happens. You kind of get used to it, because it's social media, and you never know.
Yeah, it's a backhanded compliment. It's still a compliment ultimately, but it's like,
it is.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm not going to tell you how much time I spent on the others in this one, but thank you.
Exactly.
Glad to work. Can you tell us about a project where you were approached with something that you weren't familiar with? So may it be a film or something that you didn't get to come. I know you were mentioning that you worked on The Mandalorian and you hadn't got to, watch any of that and then got to watch it after the fact. But was there something that kind of similar where you had already finished the piece and then they let you watch it and then, maybe even you did something else because you were so excited by the material or it was a movie that you loved? Does anything like that come to mind at all?
I mean, I would say 80% of the stuff I do, I never see anything beforehand. So it's a lot of guessing, a lot of trying to be vague. So no one can say afterwards, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong. For example, if you look at my official Avengers poster, there's a very thin Thor on that. Because I had no idea that he looked the way he looked in the film. And funny enough, no one pointed that out, but everyone pointed out the shadows and whatever and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, these are the things. Same with Mandalorian. We had no idea about the child, which is, no one knew about the child. It was the idea that no one knew about the child. But no, we didn't either. So we just had trailers to go off of and trying to come up with again, very vague idea. And try to bring across a feeling for the show. But yeah, that is actually a lot, and a big part of my job is to guess. To kind of, there have been times where I was like so right with my intuition, and there are posters that I've maybe posted once and never again just because I was so wrong. With the vibe, with whatever it was about, so I just those disappear in the voids. But yeah, it happens, and but it's fun. Like that's if you create, like if you're one of those artists that like to create stuff for when a film, for example, was just announced, and oh, there's a casting or whatever, and people are super excited, and you create something for that just as a tribute for fun or whatever. It can go either way. You can be very right about it and people love it, or, people hate it, or it's just so wrong. And then, you're gonna get ripped into shreds. So it's it's a tricky one, but it's fun. It's all fun. It's good.
Yeah. I think with the time that we live in too, like, for instance, the whole idea, and I don't know where it really comes from, and maybe just an attention grabbing thing, but like, big box office movies nowadays having like 9 trailers before the movie actually comes out. I think it's an overkill thing. And specifically with seeing like the Mandalorian stuff and seeing that. And I remember you had mentioned something, as far as being kind of bummed out because it's like, well, we had no idea about the child, and everybody that was putting out stuff, it had nothing to do with that. And I thought that it benefited it out of something like the old school, like Gremlins poster art, for instance, where you have a box and you have this fuzzy little thing coming out of it and you think that, oh, okay, well, it's going to be about this. And then you have these nasty ass gremlins throughout the whole movie that it's like, oh, this is not what I was expecting at all. So it kind of gives that idea. And with minimalism as well, I think that's what's so cool is that it draws you in with a specific thing, but it's not telling you what you're going to be getting in this hour-and-a-half story. There's an aspect that's drawing, but so I appreciate that actually.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. I know that a lot of people, especially when it comes to minimalism, like to spoiler in posters, and I'm like, no, like that's the last thing you want to do with a poster is spoil the movie. Like, because I've seen, and I don't want to. Please, if you artists, if you see this, I'm very sorry. I just have to use it as an example. But there was an Arrival poster that basically had everything that was happening on the thingy and it was a clock. And I was like, you're basically just told everyone exactly what's going to happen. I mean, of course you have to watch the movie to get, but you know what I mean? Like you can't put in so many of the movie in a poster that you're basically not even need to watch it anymore. Like that's just, I don't know. I don't appreciate it. But there might be others that totally love that, but I personally don't. But yeah, I agree with you. It's nice to be teased. It's nice to have an image that makes you curious without actually ruin it for you because there's too much on it or spoilers or whatever.
Yeah, sure, sure. And I mean, you can also have fun too with something like I can say, I was familiar with your lighthouse piece that you did, and then it might have even been one of the same interviews that you were mentioning talking about that, and then you'd mentioned like the silhouettes of the faces underneath, and I'm like, oh my god, like that stuff is so sick. I mean, that's so cool because it's something where you're not giving a whole lot away, but it's still given, if you're looking close enough at different things, because I mean, I think even at one point you were mentioning just as far as with, something being in the picture. So I'm pausing it and I'm looking and, trying to focus and I'm like, I'm not sure what it is I'm seeing. Then you see it and you're like, oh boy.
Exactly. And I love that. Whenever there's like a smart Mondo poster coming out or Phantom Creative does it a lot too. Like, hiding things in their designs. There's this Wind River poster, I think from Matt Robin, I don't remember. And he did a Wind River poster, and it's like a snowy landscape, and there's the mountains in the background, and it's like a little deer that is running away because movie blah blah blah. But and the mountains are in the shape of a wolf. Oh I have goosebumps when I think about it, just because the imagery is so strong and so smart, and so and you had to look twice, and it's like, oh, I love that when you look at a poster and it's not just a very obvious thing, and like it's a portrait or it's a whatever. Like I enjoy those. It's nice, but what fills me with joy is when I see something and then I look again and I see something else, and that's just what makes me happy and what I enjoy when it comes to movie poster art, the alternative stuff, because we don't see that stuff in official art a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a little bit of that, and it comes from that the 80s nostalgia and whatnot, but it seems like a lot of cover arts, like I don't know if you're familiar with Psycho Gorman. They released the Blu-ray of that, and basically anything that comes out from that, the cover art is really cool and articulate and something that looks like it's at least hand drawn or somebody put the passion time into it. So I hope that trend continues, or even someone like from Poster Posse, Orlando Aracena, and having like his Venom cover, just a simple thing from a side view, but it spells his name and like the spit between his jowl.
I love that one.
Sick. Yeah. Holy shit, so cool.
I love that too. Like, and I love when Orlando gets all sneaky and creative, and like with his typography and everything, and integrates it in his love him.
Very cool.
Love him.
Yeah. All right, moving on to you've had a couple of projects that you've done with Burning Witches Records, and I wanted to dig into a little bit as far as how you were approached to work on Lucky, and how is the process with working on an album layout different as opposed to just doing a single individual piece?
I'm very lucky to have worked with Darren and Gary quite a few times by now. Oh God, 3, 4, something like 5. I don't even know. It's a lot. 3 out on my wall, so it has to be. But I think it's 4 or 5.
What are the other two? What are the other two?
I did Imitation Girl, Lucky. God, no, I have to look.
Oh man.
Yes, Pride. I know. Entertain people. Oh yeah, What Keeps You Alive, Dry Blood.
Oh yeah, okay.
Those I did too. So yeah, I did work quite a few times with it. It's just a joy to work with them, because they are one of those clients that actually let you run free. There are directions, of course, like in this case, Natasha gave me some pointers, like we would love to focus on this or on that, but basically it's like, do whatever you want, like surprise us, because we like what you do. And when it comes to packaging like this for vinyl, because I love packaging, it's one of those things I used to love doing when I was working at advertising agencies and everything.
Okay.
It's the whole package. It's like, it's just not one image. It's like the whole wraparound. It's like a little story that you're telling.
Hmm.
I love that they come, like all the Burning Witch records come with like an inlay thingy. That always is like another little canvas that you can play with and work on,
Right.
which is
Right.
amazing. I love the Lucky one was actually really cool because we did like a stack of books, like bloody and with a, what's it, like a piece of glass stabbing it.
Oh,
So
nice.
just really nice imagery. And it's just, I just enjoy, you know, creating that experience when you open it up for the first time, and like, you know, how everything feels and looks. And it's just, I don't know, I just love the whole part, or the whole journey that is a vinyl these days, because you don't have too much, you know, stuff you can touch anymore. It's all digital, so it's nice to have that experience and
Hmm.
designing that experience for people.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice. And with music and vinyl, was that a big part of your childhood as far as having music and records and things like that in your house regularly?
Music, yes. Vinyl, yeah. I mean, I would lie. I got my dad's vinyl collection, but
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, music was always important. Like, it was always there, but it was never like a big, like, my parents both weren't like musical in any way, shape, or form. Neither was I. Like, I tried everything from guitar to keyboard to drums at some point, but nothing was like fun, I guess, or long
Okay.
enough. I just wasn't a music person. I was always the art person. So yeah, I don't know. It was always there. And when I started doing the vinyl records, my dad was so proud because he was like, "Ooh, you know, I can hold this, and I can, you know."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of cool to see that. But yeah,
So
it's
cool.
fun. I love working with them.
Yeah, and it's I think it's an appreciated thing too from not only horror fans but film in general, just as far as the whole revival with vinyl and being able to have that too. And like he mentions, you know, just as far as like it's almost kind of like having like an art piece, you know, as far as if you frame it or you know the cover art's really cool and something's taken time, you know, you can have it up on display and you know
Yeah.
it can be a drawing aspect too. So it's cool with that. But you know, even bands when they take the time to hire
Oh
somebody
yeah.
or commission someone, you know, it's like, okay, I don't know what the hell this is, but it looks cool and I'm going to check out Iron Maiden for the first time.
Exactly, exactly. No, but stuff like that, especially what I really love is tour posters and everything. Like when they
Oh,
come
yeah.
up with like, and there's so many good artists doing that kind of stuff. Like, oh, Foo Fighters had quite a few good ones. Oh, just a lot of bands that just appreciate art like that, and you know,
Hmm.
use artists like that. It's just, oh, I love it. I love it. I hope we see this more and more with movie posters as well, because it's like, I know, because I talked to, I'm very sure you're familiar with Mike Flanagan, who did
Yeah.
Hush and stuff like that. We talk on it, like he's kind of a fan. I hate saying that, but like early in the day, I did a piece for Hush, which he really enjoyed. And back in the day, I put it
The
on.
earpiece?
Yes, the earpiece thing. He really
Yeah.
liked
Okay.
that, and he messaged me and did the, hey, can I have that, and can I print that on everything? Like, I want it on everything, and I put it on Society 6, which basically was a printing shop thingy, and he ordered like a phone case, posters, I think a throw pillow, and everything just
Whoa.
with that thing on it, which is awesome, you know. And he's one of the people, because we're still talking to this day about things, and he always shares stuff whenever I create something for his. But he's just very big on movie posters and stuff like that. He just enjoys, you know, seeing that kind of stuff. And I'm always like, I wish more directors today would put that much, you know, love back into the community and the art community in general when people create stuff for them for fun, not even getting paid for it.
Yeah,
um
sure.
but it's we have a few. We have like James Gunn is very big on it. We have
Oh, man.
Kevin Smith, who's very big on it. So we do have a few people who really enjoyed, but I wish it was more. It was more.
Yeah. So we can only hope. I think that's the thing where, you know, when they see some of the movies that are, you know, maybe even like you know, not the one that's not rooted for, or, you know, maybe just kind of one like that's the underdog, you know, so to say, that starts getting the momentum, and, you know, the bigger, you know, Hollywood pictures are like, oh, well, you know, maybe this is the trend, you know, maybe it's not for the right reason, but shit, it's still hiring people to do cool stuff. So, I mean, you know,
Exactly.
hopefully that catches on for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
All right, last up here to finish up, I wanted to dig into 3 of your pieces from over the years, from earlier on till one more recently here, and
Mm-hmm.
and with each piece, just digging into different categories as far as how the piece came about, initial ideas from the piece as far as from yourself, as well as the hiring job, and you know, where the piece went from the initial first draft to a final draft, and maybe memories working on it. So first of all, I wanted to ask you about Hostel. You have a really cool blank white slate, different things sprawled, and it's so clean yet chaotic. It's beautiful. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, the first. It was the initial idea for a thing I did called the movie poster tables. It's basically the first piece of a series where I thought about, well, if you had a white blank table and you would try to put that movie onto the table, what items would there be and how would it look? How, you know, I tried to play with typography. In this case, Hostel was written in blood, which kind of makes sense. There were others where The Martian, for example, I did the writing in red sand. So it was always a play with typography and the items surrounding it. And Hostel was, I have a deep love for that movie for some reason. I don't know. It kind of, for me personally, it started that whole, because I'm very much into gore, horror, and all that stuff. And kind of started that for me, besides Saw. But yeah, that was one of the, and Eli Roth actually shared that one back in the day and messaged me and was like, "Ooh, this is so cool! Can I have a print of it and stuff like that?" That was really nice. One of the first pieces I think that happened with. But yeah, that was actually the first that started the movie poster tables series, which I should continue at some point. It just had like nine pieces or something, so it needs more.
Yeah, I mean, so cool, you know. And that one, another one that comes to mind was a Pulp Fiction one that you did.
Yes.
You know, and I'm gonna have to go back and look at those now too, because that was kind of the idea that I get as far as, you know, from the visuals of it, but going back and looking at, you know, some of the smaller pieces and smaller details with the font and everything. Yeah, those are so sick. I love them.
I think the Pulp Fiction font was weed, actually.
Yeah.
I don't remember I did The Ring, which the typography was made out of water, and the hair was all over the place. Yeah, I started quite a few. I remember I started a Lord of the Rings one as well, which I never finished for some reason. Yeah, there are quite a few that I start. Mary Poppins, something with T, I remember. But yeah, I have to start, like, just do a couple more, because it's such a fun concept too. Just
yeah, totally. I love it. Next up, I wanted to dig into the platform. So this was one you had posted online in March of 2020. And first of all, what a cool movie. So wild. I mean, absolutely original. And I want to dig into your approach as far as how this came about, and how did the movie get introduced to you?
Netflix. I'm one of those people who
Same
actually
here.
trusts Netflix here and there when it comes to my taste.
Okay.
No, it was a new on Netflix thing, and I don't have a problems with subtitles and everything, so I just put it on. And watched it, and I think it was in a long time. It was the first movie that actually left me speechless, because it's like the concept of the film and the whole, it just made me feel sick. It was just such a, vile concept.
Yeah.
But just so smart and so real, unfortunately, comparing it to the real world. Um, it just left me speechless. And that's usually the moment where inspiration happens. And that was one of the
Okay.
posters, I think, that took probably an hour or so. And it
Oh,
was done
wow.
because the idea was pretty much there the moment the credits rolled, because it's like it's a very obvious concept,
Hmm.
but also some, yeah, it was easy. It was easy, that one, just because the film was so inspiring. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it that was that. I think that was even the same evening when I did that. Like I watched the movie sometime in the afternoon, and in the evening I sat down and did the posters just because I was so shook by it.
Yeah, wow, wow. And it was I was kind of going through it, and when I initially sent you like the flyer for this episode here, I was kind of digging through, and you're like, well, maybe if you just focus on one. And I'm like, God damn it, like, oh, all right, I'll try and see if I can focus on just one. But that was one that really had resonated too, both solely off the movie, for being something recent and just something that did not have all that much of a budget. It wasn't a huge production,
No.
and how they pulled all that off, and then being able to see like your take on that, I was like, okay, we're gonna go with that one, and I
Yeah,
love
I love
hearing
that one.
behind the scenes too with that too, so that's cool.
Yeah, I just really love that whole, like, I love the colors. I'm a big sucker for the contrast, like the red and greenish blue, like
Yeah.
that. Just it's just, yeah, dark, and with the red. I'm just a big sucker for black and red and white, and just very strong contrasts, and loved it.
Sure. Okay. Last up, I had to touch on Cruella. Now, not horror, but certainly, as a young fella, I love me some Disney movies, and watching Cruella, and man, I'm trying to think of the lead actress's name now. Damn it, I should have written it down.
Which
I've
one? The
liked her
new one?
stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, dear
Yeah,
heavenly Lord. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So,
She's great.
I love her in so much stuff, and that was certainly a drawing point as far as watching it. But what a cool movie, just an original take on it. The music, the attitude, it almost felt very like punk, like
Yeah,
for a Disney movie. It was like, man,
yeah,
this rips ass. Like this is
yeah.
awesome. What can you tell us about having the official artwork for it, right?
Yeah, it was we did a Poster Posse project with Cruella, and it was very cool because I think it was all women working on it, which was also
Oh,
very cool
nice.
because it's like
Yeah.
all comes, full circle there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just a whole lot of fun. Again, we had to go off of trailers for this one, so we didn't even see the film before. But I feel like they pretty much straight on went for punk with the trailers as well. So that was basically the direction we all took. It was like, okay, as
Nice.
punk as they would let us, because it's end of the day, it's still Disney. Because you
Yeah.
have to. I remember. I think one of the direction was no doggies, because they might, in case there's some. We don't want to hurt doggies. That's the bottom line. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, it was very clear that I wanted to work with the Union Jack somehow, just to give that Sex Pistols throwback feeling. And yeah, that was basically the first concept I did. I think I submitted 3 or 4, but that was the first, and they went with the first. So I
Oh,
was I
nice.
was lucky again that they enjoyed that
Yeah.
as much as I did. But yeah, it was my little punk rock, because that's also my kind of music. So I was very happy that I could let that all out and go full spray paint there, and just, yeah, had some good fun there.
Yeah, and that was one of those things too, where aside from something that, like, with it being Disney, they could have gone and had Emma's face on it, or they could have had something very like obvious, and I think that just added to the overall aura of it. Going into it was like, man, this movie kicks ass, and then even from the poster, it's like you're going in kind of expecting attitude, and that's what comes out of it, for a Disney movie. So that was so cool, and I absolutely, when you announce that, first of all, like, congrats, like that's awesome. Anytime something you know, gets chosen like that, and you know, is all over on display. You know, that's always so cool. But and also a really cool piece too. So very cool.
Thank you, thank you. It's always like whenever the Poster Posse knocks on my door and says, "Hey, you know, we have this project. Are you interested?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, yeah." But no, it's always an honor to work on these because I've been a Disney fan since I was very little, and so working with them on these projects it's a dream come true. I'm very much regularly pinching myself that all of this is happening. But yeah, no, it's fun, and you know, more stuff to come. There's actually one out, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it. But I did a one for Shang-Chi that was given out last week at an IMAX screening, but I couldn't post it yet.
Oh, man.
Marvel hasn't posted it yet, so I'm waiting.
Dang. Oh, well, I'm not going to dig into that. I don't want you to get in trouble over anything, but that's awesome. I can't wait to see. That's awesome.
That's the thing. It's already out there.
Oh, really?
You have it as a print at their, because they got it at an IMAX screening over there when there was fan screenings and stuff. So it's already out there. It's just, it hasn't been posted yet.
I'm going to have to do some digging then. I'm going to have to see if I can figure this out. The unfortunate power of the internet.
Yeah, well, that's how it is.
Sometimes those things happen. Yeah. Well, this is wrapping up on what I prepared. Thank you so much. I do have one finale question for you, but this is your opportunity as far as to let everybody know where your shop is, where you're doing your posting, you know, just anything new that you have coming up. This is your opportunity.
I don't have a shop, which is a thing, because I'm trying to respect my clients or the potential clients one day. No, I'm not selling. I do a charity sale once a year, which last year was in December, and I'm trying to get together, or I do get together some money for cancer charity here in Germany. And I'm going to do that again in December. So everyone who wants to snag one should stay tuned for that. Besides that, I am very much busy, but I am, I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm going to go on vacation in 2 weeks for the first time, pretty much since forever, since before the pandemic. No, it's gonna be a good break. But yeah, I have stuff coming out still with the Posse, which is gonna be exciting. Some indie stuff as well. I'm currently working on a whole lot of stuff I can talk about, and I will never be able to talk about it, which kind of sucks. But that's also part of the job. What I do have, because that's something that's very dear to my heart, I'm very much involved in the community of poster design and all things alternative movie posters, as well as key art, is I put together a deck of artists and designers for filmmakers. So if there's any horror filmmakers, any indie filmmaker people, or any writers, producers, whatever, that need poster designers and illustrators, they can hit me up, and I can send you a dope link to 60+ artists by now that are all in the smaller region of prices still, because they're still building their portfolio. And yeah, that's something I'm currently doing. I'm trying to give back to the younger artists. So yeah, that would be, if anyone needs someone, just hit me up. I'm going to send you a link, and you can reach out to them.
Man, that's beautiful. I mean, being able to give back and being able to do what you can to make the environment that you're in a better place, always commendable. Well done.
Thank you.
That's and it's one thing too, like being able to be a part of something and then also trying to make things better. Not just kind of giving into like how the last couple of years have been, so negative and pessimistic, and falling into just having a hard time and not, doing things. I especially applaud, just right now, as far as giving some people some hope, and, giving some people maybe that push that, maybe they're not physically showing, but definitely need. So Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing
Yeah.
that, and even in the music community myself, being in a band and different things like that, trying to come up with different ways and doing things, to lighten up the mood, and have some fun with things that we love. So I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's one of those things when I wish that would be more of a thing, that if artists get a little bigger and a little busier and, can support themselves, their families, whatever, and that they have to turn projects down because they're too busy. I wish that more people would, send these people somewhere else and, help someone else with out with jobs and everything. But unfortunately, it's not a thing that a lot of people do. So I'm trying to motivate people to please help some other artists out, because it's we're all in this together. Like, we're not competition when it comes to our work, because there's plenty of jobs out there. And if they're looking for a specific style and you don't have that style, you're out anyway. So, it's just pass it on if you can't do it, and that's fine.
Nice,
It's
nice.
what
I
I
love that.
believe in.
Yeah, yeah. Have fun, and maybe make a little money at it too. That's not gonna nothing wrong with
At this point,
it.
I'm doing all of this just because I want to help other people, because I'm
Sure.
fine. Like, I have my jobs. I'm very much busy.
I
I
meant with
just
your
have,
jobs, not with
you know,
this. So
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
clarify here.
exactly.
Yeah.
And at
Okay.
some point, maybe in the future, who knows, something else grows out of this. But at this point, it's just I wanna help people out, because I know how hard it is to get into this industry, specifically movie posters or vinyl or anything that has to do with this kind of stuff, because it's a niche. It's not a big field that So I don't know. I just hope that I can help a couple people out to get a foot in the door and work with some
Yeah.
people, and also help filmmakers, because I know how hard that is as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I look forward to seeing what new things you have coming up. And so, as far as with our finale here, I wanted to dig into researching your work and a little bit more about yourself. And I fell on your love and appreciation for Tim Burton, and I wanted to dig into in the future here. Let's just say that he's making a film and he reaches out and he needs the key poster art for the movie, and he says, in return, if you don't mind, I will give you a costume or a prop or a piece from any of my movies as a payment. What would you choose to have from any Tim Burton movie ever?
anything from Edward Scissorhands. That's the
Ooh.
easiest question ever. Any prop. It can be like a piece of grass from the. I don't care. Anything. Anything. No, no. I mean, if anything is up for grabs, obviously one of the hands or part of the suit or whatever. But yeah,
Yes.
anything from Edward Scissorhands, just because it's my movie. It's like I watch it twice a year, so I can't, you know. Yeah, just makes me
Nice.
happy.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great answer. I can't ask for anything more. I mean,
What would you
that's a
pick?
good one. I don't know. I mean, it would probably have to be something from Batman Returns.
Yeah, okay.
Man,
I
if
get that.
you have some of that, I mean, maybe not necessarily like the Penguin's boat because that'd be a little big. I don't know where the hell I'd put it.
Oh,
Um,
Catwoman's whip.
ooh,
Good one.
there you go. All right, we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to dig any further. That's a good answer too.
Nice one.
Awesome. All right, Eileen, thank you so much for the time today. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to all the things that you have coming up here and seeing what you have new. So. Thank you very
Yes,
much
and
for the
thank you
time.
everyone for all the nice comments. I saw you. I know we didn't react to it, but there was a lot of love, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sure. You take care, stay
Awesome.
safe, and stay healthy. Have a good
You
one.
too. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye bye.
Dun, 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 dun. He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.